Your YouTube videos are great because you speak very clearly.
Thank you.
And there's subtitles, and I just bring it into link, and I understand.
Actually, I heard that quite many foreign friends who watching my video for studying Korean. Yeah, I really feel like very appreciative about that. Yeah, my pronunciation accent in Korean is pretty clear, I think. So.
Very good. Hi, Gina.
Hi.
Nice to be here.
Nice to meet you too. Could you introduce yourself a bit first?
Sure. So I am 77 years old. I live in Vancouver, Canada, although right now I'm in Palm Springs, California. I am very interested in languages. In my career, and I was a diplomat for 7 years, and then I worked in the forest industry. I had occasion to learn different languages, Chinese, Japanese, Spanish, Swedish, German, whatever. Then, since the age of 60, I became quite interested in learning languages. I started a website with my son, which is called Lingq, L-I-N-G-Q. And there I've learned Russian, I've learned Korean. Well, I shouldn't say I've learned Korean because I've forgotten it. Whatever we learn, if we don't, because I'm learning other languages.
Yeah, right.
지금 제게 어려워요, 한국어. 6개월 동안 열심히 공부하고 그러나 이용하는 기회 없어서 지금 제게 얘기하는 것은 어려워요.
그래도 다 이해했어요.
You can't keep all these languages, in perfect condition, right? If I were to go to Korea and spend a couple of weeks there, then it would all come back and I'd be comfortable. But right now, I'm not so comfortable in Korean, but I don't mind using it. But I make mistakes. But I think when we speak foreign languages, we have to be prepared to make mistakes, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, then since the age of 60, I've learned these different languages. Right now, I'm working on Persian and Arabic. And I enjoy it. I enjoy languages.
So, as you said, you're really well-known, a polyglot. You're able to speak many languages. So, why you get started to learn so many languages? I mean, the reason or desire, or is just intrinsic desire?
No, it's. I think, I didn't say I want to learn 20 languages. I just started out with getting. First of all, we had French at school, like people in Korea, young people in Korea have English. And I wasn't very motivated, so I didn't really learn very well. Of course, I had it at school, so every year I passed the test, and I had some knowledge, but I couldn't speak. And then I had a professor who made it very interesting. Like you make it interesting for your viewers.
Yeah,
if
right.
you can motivate people, if people are motivated enough that they want to learn, then they'll learn. And so I became very interested in French. I ended up going to France, and I lived in France for 3 years as a student. And then when I joined the Canadian Diplomatic Service, I was sent to Hong Kong to learn Mandarin in 1968. So then I learned Mandarin. So now, having learned French and Mandarin, and then we moved to Japan, so I learned Japanese. So once you know that you can learn languages and you know how to learn languages, then it just becomes fun. I want to learn another one. I want to learn Spanish. I want to learn Korean. I want to learn Russian. Because you can do it. And the process itself, for me, is fun. I enjoy doing it. I just enjoy the process.
Yeah. But on behalf of Korean viewers and Korean people, I think it's the people really stressful to learn English because we got tested so many times when you're in English class or like TOEIC, TOEFL, right? Yeah, that kind of test make us like stressful to get a higher score. Do you have any advice to that kind of people? But you said you enjoy learning, right?
See, first of all, obviously, subjects at school, very often the student didn't choose that subject. He has to, or she has to study that subject. So that's not the same level of motivation as if you're interested in the subject. You want to learn it. Like I became very interested in French civilization, French movies, back when I was, 18 years old. If you can get motivated, when I went to learn Chinese, I found it very interesting. I was motivated. It's not because the teacher told me to learn something. I am motivated, so I learn. So I think it's very important to try to find something that you enjoy. It might be a TV program. It might be music, songs. It might be a friend even. Anything. There has to be something that you like. Also, insofar as making mistakes, I think the fault might be with the school system because we're made to feel that making a mistake or forgetting is a bad thing. But it isn't a bad thing. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to forget. Whatever you study, you're going to forget. And so I think the thing is not to worry about making mistakes. You should be making mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard enough.
I really love that what you said is like, you should be making mistakes.
Your YouTube videos are great because you speak very clearly. You speak very clearly.
Thank you.
And there's there's subtitles, and I just bring it into link, and I understand. And you're talking about a subject that's familiar to me, which is language learning, and so anytime the subject is familiar, it's easier, right?
Actually, I heard that quite many foreign friends who watching my video for studying Korean.
Yes.
I really feel like very appreciative about that. Yeah, my pronunciation accent in Korean is pretty clear, I think so.
Very good, very good. Very pleasant.
About vocabulary, people think have to just memorize vocabulary.
The process is the process. Do you speak Japanese, by the way?
Oh yeah.
So you get
日本語できます。
used to the
日本語できます。
日本語できますか。じゃあその勉強するよりももう慣れてくる。So you get used to the language, right?
Yeah.
So memorize. It's not about memorization.
Yeah.
It's about getting used to the language. And you can't rely on memorization. It gets back to this discussion. You can't rely on saying, "Oh, I learned this. Now, when I need it, I'll be able to remember it." You won't remember it.
Yeah, right.
You're gradually accumulating this large reserve of things, words, phrases, and slowly, when you least expect it, they activate and you can remember them. But it's not deliberate memorization. And any attempt to deliberately memorize, a list of words and so forth, I think is not very effective. As you mentioned in your video that I was listening to, lots of input.
Oh, really? Right.
Yeah. And it's important that the voice be pleasant. You have a very pleasant voice, and it's pleasant to listen to, so you feel good. And if the subject is again, your material is a familiar subject, I'm interested in the subject, language learning. All of those are very positive things that make the language kind of enter your brain. It's very difficult. I think you have to have some degree of emotional connection to the content you're listening to, and you'll gradually get used to the language. But it's not memorization. I don't believe it's. I never do Anki or any of that stuff.
And also, I mentioned this before through my video. My reading and listening comprehension is way better than my speaking ability. I thought it was a problem for me. There are gaps between reading and listening, speaking, writing abilities. Is there any solution?
So the way I look upon it is, you build up your potential.
Yeah.
Your potential, your basic, ability to speak relies on comprehension and vocabulary. If you have poor comprehension and poor vocabulary, you won't speak. You won't. You won't be able to maintain a conversation. So most people who are in your situation, or even in my situation in Vancouver, learning Persian, we don't have a lot of opportunity to speak.
Right, that's true.
So in order to speak well, you have to speak a lot. You have to speak a lot. So if you went to the States or Britain or somewhere, Canada, and for month after month, you were working in an office or you were meeting with people and you were speaking, your speaking ability would improve a lot. That's normal.
Yeah.
So I don't think people should. I know a lot of people say, I can understand, I read, but I have trouble speaking. First of all, they don't have trouble speaking. Like, we have no trouble communicating. I have 100% confidence that everything I say, you understand.
Yeah.
That is very important, because if you speak to someone and you feel they don't really understand what you're saying, then it's very uncomfortable. So that comprehension is so important.
Mm-hmm. So only thing that I have to do is make just the chance to speak more, right?
Speak more and don't worry about it.
Okay. So the almost last questions. Many people who watch my video, they love learning any foreign language, mostly English. So what are you gonna give advice for them.
In terms of learning English or learning languages other than English?
Yeah, I mean, including all of the languages.
I mean, to me, it's the same process. It doesn't matter whether you're a Korean person learning English or a Canadian English speaker learning Korean or a Japanese person learning Portuguese. It's the same process. The process is that you need to do a lot of listening and reading. You need to try to find a way to enjoy it and spend the time. And you have to be confident that you can do it. You know, if you don't think you're going to get there, you won't get there. So you have to say, I'm going to get there.
How much important you think is like when you get started to learn new languages about the grammar? For me, I'm still make a lot of mistakes like singular, plural, and the tense like present perfect tense, or was that past perfect tense, or relative pronoun or something like that. But normally native speakers don't know about. Even when I teach Korean to foreign friends, it's really hard to speak in grammatically because it's pretty hard to speak for native speaker because we just speak because we are native. We don't care about the grammar thing Korean grammar.
Right. So the problem is that in schools where they teach language, they feel they have to teach grammar.
Yeah, right.
To me, that's putting things back to front. You have to have a lot of exposure to the language. You know, you have to get used to the language. Then the grammar can explain things that you now are familiar with. If the grammar tries to explain something that you have no experience with, you can't understand this explanation. Whereas if you have already done a lot of listening, you've got a large vocabulary, you kind of understand things, you have certain questions about why the language works certain ways, then the grammar explanation can sometimes help. But if you spend your time wondering, am I supposed to use the past perfect or all the different, I don't even know these terms, but
really?
If you start to think, it's just, you want to develop certain habits, natural habits that develop through lots of listening and reading. And you cannot sort of, try to think through grammar rules while you're speaking. It's going to make you very self-conscious.
Yeah, right.
And you just have to think that if I keep listening and reading and speaking, my natural language habits will gradually improve. I would say that start out with a lot of input, vocabulary, emphasis on vocabulary, and then at some point when you're interested, you can look at the grammar. But you can't force a student to say, here's the grammar, learn the grammar, if the student hasn't enough exposure or familiarity with the language.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. Thank you so much. I really
enjoyed it.
Appreciate you make time for me and my channel. So